Well, I'm excited to talk to all of you today, and it's a very fun topic, but I'll say this, I know we're on mute, but please feel free to talk back or in the chat. I want this to be interactive and fun and funny so that this is more fun and edutainment, if you will, today. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and hopefully you all can see it. And I'm going to make it nice and
There we go.
okay, great. Um, so this presentation is brought to you by a program that I've started to help nonprofits and business owners look like where they're going called the Brandtastic Voyage. And this particular presentation is Think Like a Business, Act Like a Nonprofit, the Power of Branding. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. So why do you all think God made poop stink? I'll just let that marinate just for 2 seconds. If you have any answers, feel free to put it in the chat. But why do you think God made poop stink? I'll give it one more second. Okay, I'm going to tell you why I think he made poop stink because I truly believe he did it for people like me that probably would not change my child's diaper if it didn't make the house smell so bad. And I hate changing diapers, but I hate the stink of poop more than I hate changing diapers. And I think in many ways, branding can kind of be like that. I realize that some of us for us to change some of the ways that we're doing things, things got to stink really bad. If you look at society, things are kind of stinking. Business world, people are saying like, oh my goodness, money's down, business is down. I'm not getting, the flow of business the way that I want to. And I think when things stink, it's time for change. So we're going to talk about changing the mindset of when it comes to business and nonprofits and giving back. So, why does branding matter to nonprofits? Well, one thing that a lot of people tend to neglect is the fact that branding is not just for businesses, it's for nonprofits too. It creates a lasting impact. It allows for you to be remembered. It allows for, you to have a presence beyond just your costs. And it is helpful to both the people who are donating to your organization as well as the people that you're serving because you investing in how you present yourself, your messaging, your storytelling makes a huge impact when it comes to how people view your nonprofit and its ability to impact lives. So, as you can see, there is an ad for, I think it's, excuse me, the Red Cross organization, which we're all familiar with. But if you notice, they're using creative branding. They could have just put a Red Cross and say, hey, water is declining. We need to pay attention to this, but they're doing a lot more than that. They're capturing you using the power of branding, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into that. So, who in here knows these guys that told us all over billboards, please eat more chicken? They were talking to us and telling us to eat more chicken. Why? Because we don't need to eat them? No, we still eat the hamburgers. It's because we needed to know who Chipotle was. Excuse me, not Chipotle. We need to know who Chick-fil-A was. So Chick-fil-A used the power of branding, and they also not only got people to know their brand, but they have done a lot of impactful things as a business. So sometimes it's not just, hey, this is my organization. It's also getting people's attention in a creative way. So some surprising nonprofits that people don't actually know because we think of their brand on a business end because they're thinking more like a business than a nonprofit is the NFL, Mozilla, the NHL, PBS, Wikipedia. These are all known nonprofits. But why don't we always think nonprofits when we think of these brands? It's because of that principle which we're learning today, which is the thinking like a business but acting like a nonprofit. And I tell people this, okay? A lot of nonprofits that I have in businesses, just in general, that I've worked with, they tend to feel like their cause needs to be bigger than how they represent themselves. Why? Because in their heads, they're like, hey, I'm giving back to impoverished widows, or hey, I'm helping children who, haven't eaten, they're starving, or I'm giving back to this cause to fight cancer or to, fight this disease or something, but I don't know why I'm not getting donors. I'm telling people about what I'm doing. It's such a good cause. And I tell them, okay, how are you showing up as a brand when it comes to how your business cards are, your flyers, when you do events? What's the experience like? Is it just a lot of people sitting down, a very, basic PowerPoint and saying, hey, donate money to us. This is our cause. And a lot of them that I talk to say that, it could be better. Our business cards were done 10, 15 years ago. Our logo needs to be revamped. Yeah, our event, it's okay. It's not, as fun, but we have a good cause. And I tell them, okay, if it looks bad to you, it probably looks bad to them too. Meaning that if you're showing up in a way that if you didn't know yourself, you wouldn't receive well, most likely that's how people are receiving you. And that rule goes for both businesses and nonprofits alike. I tell people if you believe in your brand, whether it's a nonprofit or a business, investing in how it is represented on all fronts, from how you're showing up in your events to how you're looking, your logo, the experience that people are having when they're interacting with your brand, just that same way you believe in that cause is the same way you should represent in every facet of how you present your brand to the people who are receiving you. I mean, literally, donation dollars can be hurt. People gravitating to the cause through storytelling can literally be affected directly by that not being taken seriously. So remember, how you show up does matter. Looking good visibly. I tell people you have maybe, I think there was a time it was like 5 seconds. It's probably like zero point 0.2 now to get people's attention. People's attention spans have gone down. So looking attractive visually is very important. It's attractive to both future donors and supporters. And it's important to look like where you're going. And I use that statement a lot when I'm talking to business owners and organizations. Part of the reason why I do that is because you looking like where you're going helps people want to follow you there. If you can't communicate to them, hey, this cause is so important that I'm going through extra efforts to storytell in a way that helps you to get this cause as important. I'm going through extra efforts to help show imagery, to help this layout of this presentation that I'm doing be very clear and concise. You may have not cared about, you know, animals dying in the forest. You may have not cared about kids being trafficked over here, or you may have never heard about the disparity, within the Drug and Food Administration, and things like that. I'm just, kind of naming some examples. You may have not cared about it, but the way I'm going to present this to you, you're going to care about it. This may not affect you directly, but you're going to feel it affect you directly because the way my brand is being presented is helping to communicate to you why you should care about this. And I will say I've seen that pull on the looking like where you're going as one of the greatest vehicles to use storytelling, how you're presenting your brand, how people are gravitating to what you're saying, and why it's becoming important to them has a lot to do with the brand vehicle and strategy that you're using to communicate your cause as well. The last two, visual communicate visuals communicate purpose, and consistency across our platforms makes a huge difference. Meaning that if you're not remembered, if there are not things that make people remember your cause, then it's not going to resonate in people's minds. There was a time where can't remember who did it, what organization did it, but I do remember there were kids with their mouths taped shut. I think a lot of people have actually used this. It was like for causes. I think back in the early 2000s, where there was even a music video done by several artists where they put tape around their mouths and then they wrote a cause with the tape around their mouths. And they sang songs. There were billboards about it showing people, hey, pay attention. It was a creative way to write on the tape, but it got people's attention even more than just, hey, we need you to help kids that are starving, dying, being sex trafficked, or whatever. It's also showing imagery in it to make people remember, hey, they're doing something that's now causing me to remember that this thing is important. So as you're, you know, going about branding, make sure you remember those visual storytelling makes a big difference. Okay, leveraging branding to provide value. Okay, this is one thing that I will say that a lot of people who have causes, they kind of battle between should I be a profit, for profit, or nonprofit? I don't know. Has anybody battled with something that they didn't know whether it fit in for profit, nonprofit? Okay, thank you for being real out there. Yes. So, one thing I will tell people is in today's day and age, you have to be able to think both ways. First, you need to know that you want to impact people. That should be your number one mindset, regardless of whether you're a for profit or a nonprofit. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. If you want to impact people, you can still impact them as a business or as a nonprofit. It's just that tax benefits and what is going on the back end, that's what changes. So even when you're thinking like a business or thinking like a nonprofit, you also need to think, what is going to help me be most impactful? There are some causes that require a nonprofit status to have that taxing leverage, to have that ability to have donors donate because of the nature of the cause. But not everything needs to be built that way. There are some things that if they are built like a business, it actually will help for more impact. So thinking about acting like a nonprofit, but thinking like a business translate both to nonprofits and for-profit businesses alike. Why? Because at the end of the day, impact is what you're looking for. At, and that should be the core. Now, on the back end, what process, strategy wise, will help me achieve that? So, who says just because you're a business, you can't make impact? I'm going to show you an example of a business that I think is doing an amazing job with this. Does anybody know who this is? Who this brand is? Has anybody ever heard of this brand? Tom's. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yep.
Tom's.
Tom's,
Yeah.
there you go. So Tom's Shoes is a for-profit business. Now, a lot of people don't know that it's for profit. Some people think it's a nonprofit. Why? Because Tom's had a campaign that they began with. For every shoe that they sold, they would give a shoe in an impoverished country or to impoverished people who could not afford shoes. They started that as a means of showing that, hey, we're business making shoes, but we're going to take it a step further and make impact as we're making income. And one thing I appreciate that Tom's did a lot better than I think a lot of businesses do, and that the future of business needs to go into is that I believe every business should be attached to something that makes impact in the world whether you're a nonprofit or for profit. Why? We complain about how oh, our world this nowadays is so bad. There's so much, disparity here or there. But a lot of the times, those disparities are coming from people in the business world only thinking business alone, or people in the nonprofit world only thinking, hey, I don't have much, kind of like, can you donate to us? Can you give? Versus thinking, how can this thing function to create the best impact and income together? And Tom's did a good job of that. Tom's, like I said, they had a cause where every time they sold a pair of shoes, they also did it with glasses, that they said, hey, if we sell this pair of glasses, we're going to help people with eye care. Hey, if we sell these shoes, we're going to help people with foot care. As they were doing that, they bumped into a problem. And I don't know if you all know about the problem that Tom's bumped into, but they bumped into uh, actually hurting small countries, which to their knowledge, they thought they were helping. But the local shoemakers were saying, hey, nobody's buying our shoes anymore because every time you're giving them shoes, our local businesses are now dying. Every time you're giving them something, our local businesses are now dying because you're trying to help. And Tom's goes, oh, no, no, no. We still want to help. So what they did is revamp what they did and started to employ local businesses to help to produce shoes or do things where they did collaborative efforts to help the businesses in the neighborhoods that they were impacting. That is a for-profit business. That's not a nonprofit business. But the way they were operating, you would think that they were a nonprofit. The reason why I'm saying this story is because sometimes what is holding us back is not necessarily our goals, but how we're thinking about our goals when it comes to how they line with impact and income. When you want to have a nonprofit or a business, and most of us have a heart where we're like, man, I don't just want this thing to make money, I want it to make a difference. Start to think outside of the box. Start to actually understand more about the problem that you're solving and also the people that you're pouring into. If all you're thinking is, hey, let me just make money or let me just get money, you're really holding yourself back. And when it comes to brand strategy, especially, it can make a very, very big difference in how you present your cause and how you're out there, not just to make impact alone, but income, and not just to make income alone, but also to make impact. So thinking of value for all is very important. A lot of people donate to nonprofits as a business, benefit. Truly, like a lot of business people, unfortunately, in our society, are not always thinking, "Oh, let me donate to a good cause." Some are, but not all. If you now create your if you now create your nonprofit or business to actually impact in a positive way and also think brand strategy, that can help your donors not only think, hey, let me figure out a place to put my tax dollars, but also create value for them. And I'll give you an example. You can have an event where you have a donor and you have that donor infused in your event, where now instead of, hey, Coca-Cola is now our corporate donor for our nonprofit event. Now, instead of just saying, hey, we're going to put the Coca-Cola logos on the presentations, the slideshow presentations, now we can now build a brand experience where maybe if our cause is kids, I'm just thinking off the top of our head, we'll ask Coca-Cola, hey, don't just donate to us, create an experience, because what we're trying to do is show that people should donate to kids. Let's make them a playground experience and now have them play activities that show kids matter so that the kids can say, oh, Mommy, Daddy, I just found out that a kid doesn't have, a playground in their neighborhood because people didn't donate to that cause versus, hey, we're just going to put Coca-Cola's logo up and we're going to say, hey, we think kids need to have playgrounds. I say all that to say this. that small gesture, Coca-Cola probably has the money to easily build an experience like that, but just thinking in that way truly makes a difference versus just, hey, we're going to slap your logo over here. You're also bringing value to your donors because now it's like kids are remember, oh, I remember that Coca-Cola experience. Oh, when I see Coca-Cola, it's also changing their minds when it comes to Coca-Cola as well. And now it's taking something that is just, hey, donate to me. Now it's saying, hey, I can bring value to you when you donate. I can also help in that making your brand better as you're helping our cause. So thinking that way, and also that's also helping the people that you're also donating to, because now the people that are being helped, because now someone like Coca-Cola, who may or may have not cared about that cause, but is donating maybe for tax dollar purposes. Mind you, this is all hypothetical. I do not know the heart of Coca-Cola, but they now seeing that as profitable will say, hey, let me donate again. Because the last time our sales went up because we were a part of this organization. Now they're thinking not just, hey, let's just donate to a good cause. This is also helping us as a business. But guess what? It's helping your cause. It's helping those people that you're serving. So thinking like a business is also helping you as a nonprofit, but also as a business, thinking like an acting like a nonprofit also helps your impact. So I'll go to the next one. Okay. Now, this is very important. This, and I will say, this is where a lot of people struggle with because it's like, hey, I don't want my left hand to know what my right hand is doing. I want to give back. I don't want all the flashing lights when I give back. Flashing lights are necessary because people need to know what you're doing to know why they should do it too. Why they want to know what you believe in so that they can know why they should believe in it too. Meaning that you need to record your wins. You need to be able to track what is winning, personalize the videos, thank you messages, tours of what you're doing, having people explore activities that allow them to actually understand what you're doing. And it was actually me and Linda got a chance to go on a trip to South Dakota, and we saw something amazing, and it was the Crazy Horse museum, as well as the monument that they're building over there. And it's not done. I mean, this is a project that can take, I mean, upwards of 30 years plus or more. But a family took on that project after the people, the founders who wanted to do it actually passed away. A family took it on that cause to make sure that Native American history in that in through that monument being built is preserved. But I didn't know about that. I had no like attachment to, I didn't even know that that existed prior to that trip. But after that trip, I was just so touched. By the time they showed us the museum, and then they showed us videos of their life story, and then they showed us the schools that are being impacted and the people that are being impacted, immediately I was like, we gotta help with Crazy Horse. I didn't even know Crazy Horse was even a thing or existed, but why did it matter to me? Because the storytelling, because of showing what happened, the wins, seeing the impact, seeing what was going on made me want to be a part of something I had never known about. That's what could happen to you if now you take what you're doing a step further and start telling a story. Not just having the wins, but also communicating that, bringing people into that cause because it is important, but they may not know why. So, what I've done is there is a QR code here if you want to scan it and just kind of keep the link on the side on your own time. You can actually find out where you can make more wins and do an assessment of your current wins. So, if you scan that QR code, Take that survey. That can help you know where you're lying as far as recording those wins, seeing your impact, and kind of help you on the journey to know, okay, these are some areas where I could do better, that maybe I'm not really showcasing, what I'm doing to help other people really realize the power of this. And I'll probably just send the link too, if that will help as well. I'll go to the next slide, and we're almost done here. So, branding for the future. Branding is not optional, it's essential. It is what helps your business remain sustainable. A strong brand strategy helps you as a nonprofit or business to make bigger impact and to attract the supporters that you need. And also, the importance of starting to think like a business is needs to be rooted in your mission. If you don't start thinking, how can this thing create value, not just for my donors, not just for the people who are being impacted, and also it needs to be sustainable for you because if you are not built into that story, how are you going to carry it? Like being thinking too much of giving back sometimes makes beggars out of us, but thinking impact and empowering makes us start to think outside the box when it comes to how we're approaching business. So I hope that this was helpful, and I'm going to show you how we have helped some brands look like where they're going and what the power of branding can do. Okay, if you like today's presentation and you're thinking, hey, I have a brand, but kind of needs a facelift, it needs a makeover. Well, we're not all about just telling you that there's a problem. We want to provide solutions as well. If you have been looking to get a revamp, one thing that we're doing within our organization is giving you all the opportunity to be able to get that look that helps you look like where you're going so that you can get there faster. So if you want to find out more about some of the services that we're offering through our program, you can scan that QR code and also follow us for our upcoming book. Well, it's my upcoming book, but us as an organization, Brandtastic Voyage. So thank you so much for just this opportunity. I feel honored to have been here. So thank you.